Hi everyone, it's Monica from the Needle Arts Goddess Studios. Today we're going to be talking about flat round peyote. And before we get started, I do want to mention that this is not my pattern, this is not my graphic. This actually comes from someone named Suzanne Cooper, and she did give me permission to use her pattern and her graph to do our lesson this time. Our first class for this one is going to be June 25th. I'm going to try doing it twice that day, one at 5:30 p.m. and one at 8:30 p.m. because some people just can't make the 8:30 class, so I figured I would do two this time. And remember, it's always Eastern time, so I'll be online. If you haven't gotten a invitation to the classroom yet, or if you haven't gotten the link, email me at nags3153@gmail.com. My email address, nags3153@gmail.com. You should see the pattern on Crafters Unite to Change the World on our Facebook group. If you haven't gotten that yet, email me. I'll send you a copy of the pattern. It comes in a PDF format, so you can print it out. Another thing I want to tell you about the pattern is if when you print it out and you look at it, you do need to print it in color, because you're going to see some of the pattern, some of the bead locations are going to be in red. That indicates an increase in the pattern. So you do want to print it out in color. If you don't, it's maybe not going to show up where your increases are. You'll still see them, but they won't be highlighted, so you can actually tell what the increase is. This pattern's a little bit tricky for a couple of reasons. One, you have to pay really close attention on a couple of the lines as to what you're doing. Let's go ahead and start. I'm going to show three different sections of the pattern. The first one is the beginning. And in the very, very center here, you can see there's three little stitches, little beads. And each row on this pattern is numbered. So you're going to go row 1, row 2, row 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. Today we're going to be using the 1-inch graph, and it's going to end up at row 14. So what we're going to do for the first row is we're going to add 3 beads to our thread. And what you're going to do is you're going to go back through them where you have the thread coming out, maybe the right hand side. You're going to go back through the first, second, and third bead again to give it some stability. If you see my needles all bent up and jacked up for making another project, it'll still work for us today. Might look like that. Kind of have to work it into a triangle. You can see that triangle there. Then we're going to flip it over because we're going to go counterclockwise in this pattern. And there really is no indication in this pattern for the step-ups. So we just have to be mindful and pay attention when we're doing it to where we have to move to the next round. Okay, for this one, we're going to go, and I'm going to do a step-up even though I don't need to. I'm going to do a step-up into the next bead. So we're going to go in there, and I'm going to add the next row of beads. Now you can do any colors that you want. For my finished project, I used 4 colors. For the next one, this one I'm using 5, and it's all just the same color going around, just because I thought the first one looked a little bit too Christmassy. So I changed the colors up a bit, and I'm just going through that bead, and I'm gonna where the negative space is on the Y, I'm gonna put another bead on each one. Hoping this is clear enough and you can see it. Sorry for my hands being in the way. Okay, so the second row is not an increase row, but the third row is, and that's what I wanted to show you, the increase, because I know this is going to be something that we have yet to talk about. So once you go through that third bead here, if I can get this little thing to cooperate with me and sit still, once you go through that third bead, there's going to be our step up, because we've already completed round 2. So we want to go through that bead and the next one up, and it's going to look something like this. There's your first row here, then your second row is the white. Now in our third row, if you notice on the pattern, the third row here is indicated in red. That indicates we're going to do an increase. And here we're going to increase 2 stitches on each section. So, or 2 beads rather, I keep calling them stitches, 2 beads. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab 2 more beads of the next row color, and I'm going to do a red so it's easier for you to see. And then I'm going to go through just like I would go around, But in this one, there's going to be, that little tail out of the way. There's going to be 2 beads here instead of 1. And it might look a little wonky at first, but it will smooth out. So I'm going to go ahead and go up to row 4 on here, just so I can show you how to do the increase once you've added those 2 beads, where to place the beads on row 4. So I've got the second set of beads on. Let me get the third set. And then again, we'll do our step up. All right, we go through the white bead, and then we go back through that first bead again. That's our step up. Okay, so you're going to look something like this, if you can see that. Or let me put it on the paper so you maybe see a little bit easier. If you can see that right there.
Nope.
Nope,
It's
can't
blurry.
see it. Okay, blurry. So let's put it on the back. Oh, no, that's going to... Okay. Can you see it there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you see it there. All right, now we're going to add the 4th row, and this is the one I want to show you what we're going to do with the increase. So since the first 2 rows were 3 beads, this one was 6. We need to put 6 more beads on here. So for row 4, what I'm going to be doing is taking a bead and putting a bead between each of the red beads, including those 2 we added here. So we put one there, and then we have that space over that white bead. Now it's going to look like you're stretching a little, and you are, but that space will get filled in soon enough with the next beads up. It's going to seem a little loose. The 4th row will seem a little loose. So we're putting a bead there, and then one here, and all the way around. I'll finish this row real quick, and then I'll show you what it looks like.
Don't need to lean.
And my daughter just told me I was leaning towards the camera. And I'm still doing it, leaning toward. I think what I'm trying to do is lean towards the light. I think that's what my issue was today. Okay, and so now I've gotten that 6th bead, and here's my step up again from red to the black. And you're going to go through both. So what you're going to look at here, if you can see this, is there's your first row is this bluish right here. The second row is the white. The third row is the red. The 4th row is the black. So it'll look something like this. And then you can continue around, follow the pattern. The 5th row is going to be another increase. So of course you would just put 2 beads at each of these locations. So you're going to have 12 beads total. You continue around. And the one thing I noticed when making the final project, and I'll show you that in a moment, but on the 10th round, you really want to be careful on the 10th round, because our tendency is always, when we're doing these, the 9th round is an increase round. So you're putting 2 beads into each space. And then, did I do a little step up? Oh, I missed my step up. Let me go ahead and go backwards. Now this is not the way to go backwards. Try not to do this. You should go backwards with the head of the needle going through the beads. This round, you got to do your step up through your black, through my black, and then 2. But this time, instead of going through 1 bead, on this pattern, you go through 2 beads. And that's what I wanted to really make sure that you were aware of. The first time I made this, I couldn't figure out why I had 48 beads on there when I only needed 24. So what you're going to do here is you're going to kind of try to forget that we're doing 1 stitch or 1 bead peyote stitch. Here we're going to only put a bead in between the sets of 2. And that's what makes this what they call the really, really round flat peyote. Is this step. Every once in a while you're going to see where you only put the 2 beads, but you don't split this. You don't split those 2 beads to put another one in. You just go, and I'm just going to pick a color bead. You just go between, through those 2 red beads, and you put 1 and then another 1 all the way around. So this one was really important for me because I kind of messed this up the first time. So if you see what I'm doing here is there's 2 beads, the 1, 2 beads, and you keep going around. Then you do your step up as usual and you continue on with your pattern. Okay, now this was row 10 that I was just doing here. And this is what it looks like when you're finished with the 14 rows. It is really, really round and really, really flat. If you can see, if you pull it really tight, it's going to curl up a little, and I'll show you that. If you start pulling really, really tight, it's going to cup up. If you can see that cup right here. See, there's a little indentation. You don't want to do that. You want to leave that a little bit loose, and one way to keep it loose is once you get to the rounds like this, you can go ahead and if you can get the thread between 2 of the rows of beads, like between these 2 beads here, and do a little single knot. So you don't keep tendency to pull the thread and make the row behind cup. So basically that's all there is to really, really round peyote. If you can see also when you get this, there is another graph that you can use. This is going to be a 1.5 inch piece. This is a 1 inch piece. So here's a 1.5, here's the 1. If you go on to, if you need the site for the person who I got these from, she does have these going all the way up to very large mandals. So if you want to get them, I'll be happy to share that with you, and you could purchase the patterns from her. She did say I could give you pages, or the 1 inch to the 1.5 inch for free. However, she does prefer, if you continue to do this, that she would like you to purchase her patterns. And again, we're going to do our class on June 25th. It's next Thursday at 5:30 p.m. and a regular time of 8:30 p.m. If you haven't gotten the invite yet, nags3153@gmail.com. And I hope you guys have figured out by now Nags is Needle Arts Goddess Studios. Some people say Nags because I'm a nag of my husband. But that's not really what it is. If you have any questions, email me, contact me on Facebook. If you have any questions before the class, if not, I'll see you then. Happy beading.